Staging protests in central London this morning. Around 25 Just Stop Oil protesters blocking off the Mall in front of Buckingham Palace. They glued their hands to each other and to the road before eventually being moved off by police.
The disruption lasted just over 2 hours, but police managed to clear the road in time for the changing of the guard procession. The protesters, this comes after Animal Rebellion held protests at the weekend calling for a plant-based future. But aside from causing disruption, what are the protests really achieving? Well,
we're joined now in the studio by Nathan McGovern, spokesperson for Animal Rebellion. Nathan, thanks very much for joining us. First of all, just to explain to viewers and listeners, what is Animal Rebellion in a nutshell?
So first, pleasure to be joining you today, Gloria and Mark. Really important that we have these discussions. So Animal Rebellion is just a group of really concerned people from all across the country who see what the science, what Oxford and Harvard universities are telling us about solutions to the climate crisis and are pushing for the government to implement them. It's as simple as that.
So but what about the tactics?
Yeah.
It's the tactics that people...
action, isn't it? Yeah.
Probably lots of people have sympathy with your arguments. It's the tactics you employ.
No, I really do understand that. And, what I would say to that is, we've sent letters, we've signed petitions, we've talked to our MPs, we've done all, those proper ways, you're meant to communicate. And yet nothing changes. So when we look back at history, we look at the history of non-violent direct action, the suffragettes, the civil rights movement, the Indian independence movement. We see this is how, drastic social and political change is made in the short time frame that we have with the climate emergency.
Do you share then organisational details or other things with Extinction Rebellion, Stop Oil Rebellion and so on? There are a plethora of groups, but you seem to be adopting the same sort of approach.
There are many groups, built up, as I say, of just concerned people who are using similar tactics. Because, we're all seeing that this is, what we need to do to achieve the changes that we need right now. And I absolutely do support the actions of Extinction Rebellion and Just Stop Oil. I see that they are pushing for a better world, a better future for everyone, just as Animal Rebellion is.
You sound like a kind-hearted chap. So if you were blocking the road, you see an ambulance coming, or a mum with their child who needs to get to a doctor in a car, you'd move, right?
So what I'd say is, if you saw from Just Stop Oil, I believe it's 2 to 3 days ago, they actually let an ambulance through. You must have seen that yourself. So there is a blue light policy absolutely for emergency vehicles. I would like to, take this opportunity to personally apologise for the inconvenience and disruption to ordinary people's lives. It isn't something that is taken lightly as a decision. And as I say, we've tried all the so-called proper means of communication.
We can see from some of these pictures there is growing frustration among some travellers with this direct action. And is part of the problem, if you super glue your hands to the road or to each other, it's very difficult then to adopt a blue light policy. You physically can't get through that cordon of people that's demonstrating.
So what would happen is there would be some protesters or activists who wouldn't glue their hands to the road so they could move for an ambulance to make their way through. That is, solidly built
like a gateway
into the strategy. Yes, exactly.
OK.
And just on looking at Twitter this morning, Just Stop Oil said this is the moment to come together and resist. We are going to stop new oil, whether those in power agree or not. We are not asking, we are going to make it happen. Now, the government are elected and the protesters are not, so we live in a democracy, right?
Well, you say that, but more members of the Royal Mail voted to go on strike than Tory party members voted for the Prime Minister, who supposedly represents us all. Priti Patel, it got revealed, took an £100,000 donation from an oil baron. The biggest donor to Liz Truss's campaign was the wife of an oil baron. When we say we live in a democracy, you have to look who is donating to these political parties, who's pulling the
who's
string.
voting for them? Well, that's the people.
Is there a danger you're going to fall into that elephant trap that Liz Truss has built as an anti-growth coalition, that you're going to be tarred as the usual suspects?
Well, first of all, I would say thank you to Liz Truss for giving us the time of day in the conversation, this really critical conversation that does need to be had about the climate and ecological emergencies. And, what I'd say is it shows that, those who are in power know what needs to be done, but they're scared of it, right? They're scared that it's going to affect their lives, their personal interests, right? Rather than, the people that they are supposed to be representing.
What next for your protest? What do you next have planned? Is it the capital? Is it other parts of the country? Just tell us what people can expect from your plans.
So Just Stop Oil, I'm speaking for Animal Rebellion, but Just Stop Oil do plan to be taking action for the rest of this month to put pressure on this government to act in the best interests of the people. And as for animal rebellion, we will continue to be taking action, whether that's in the capital or not. That's for, other people to know and you to find out in the near future.
From what you're saying, it's like some sort of guerrilla tactics, is that right? You hit these different places at different times?
Well, you say guerrilla, that makes it sound very, very military, but these are people...
Well, you're pretty well organised, it seems.
These are people who are willing to put their faces and their names out there. They're willing to take accountability for their actions because they know they're doing the right thing. They know they're pushing for the right things.
And can I ask, are you all young? Are you students? Are you a sort of certain cohort of people?
Oh, yeah, well, we couldn't get one of our middle-class spokespeople on from today, so you've got me from Coventry speaking to you
Right.
today.
Oh, you don't sound like you're from Coventry, no.
No, I don't have a Coventry accent, do I? But no, there are people from all walks of life.
Are there really? Because
nurses,
I used to sort of represent a constituency in the former coalfields of Nottinghamshire. Are there any non-students in your organisation? It just wasn't. I can't imagine any. Not exclusively, but in the main, I'm assuming this is largely student-based, university student-based organisation.
No, I'd say it's people from all walks of life. There's engineers, doctors, nurses, publishers, people who are teachers and who've given up their teaching profession because...
Any factory workers in there?
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's teachers who have given up their teaching profession because the
supermarket workers
don't have a future. Yeah, absolutely. And as I say, it's people from all walks of life, people who we've been talking to. During the dairy blockade in September, there was a group led by co-founder Dan Kidby talking to farmers, much like you did in 2012, Gloria.
What's your personal reaction to when we see sort of milk being tipped out on the floor in Fortnum and Mason, which is a bit distressing for some people when they're doing their shopping? I mean, do we have to take that on the chin and allow you to take on those sorts of things?
Well, I would say, it could be shocking to people, but what it's got going is this really critical discussion about, the solutions to the climate crisis. A plant-based future is a critical part of that solution.
Nathan, thanks very much indeed for coming in. We'll let you get back to Coventry by whatever form of transport is green enough, but thanks very much for your time here with us today.
Thank you.